Dear viewers, wherever you are, hello and welcome to this new episode of your program, Spectra. When a new immigrant or refugee leaves his old home, being his mother country, coming to a new home, being his new adoptive country, he also leaves his physical home, be it a house or an apartment, to come to a new physical home in his new adoptive country. The choice of this new home. What does this choice tell us about the new immigrant? How will the journey for searching for a new home, physical home, affect the life of the new immigrant or refugee? Will this help them become more or less successful in life in Canada? To delve deeper into the crypts of this topic, I'm really delighted to be accompanied by Faryal, who is a real estate agent, and also she worked before in a non-for-profit organization that helped new immigrants coming to Canada. Faryal, hello and welcome to the program.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here, Mohammed, today. I'm really delighted to be part of this.
It's a real pleasure having you. And Faryal, just to start off, can you walk us through the journey of a new immigrant when they are trying to search for a physical house?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was immigrant myself too, so I know exactly what happens because we experience our share of challenges when we moved here. But I know that a lot of people who first move to a different country, you're always skeptical, right? You just like, oh, one foot is in my country still. Would I be able to adjust to this new place? There's a lot of factors that play into this whole, move of yours that you are looking for a new home. So I know that a lot of people first start with renting a home, right? Because that just seems like a reasonable thing to do. You rent for, let's say, a couple of months, a year, depending on where you're at in your financial goals and your work or whatever the thing is. And they also, I feel like renting kind of gives them a little bit of flexibility. Hey, let's first test the water, see how much we like this place, the culture, the people, and then we're going to make a big investment such as buying a home because it is a lot of money that you're putting up front, right? So I understand it can be a very nerve-wracking decision to make when you're thinking of buying a home. So let's start with someone, let's say, who come in and looking for a place. So the first step is they always look for a rental. But we also know in the past couple of years, the rent has gone off the charts, and the rents are really, really expensive now. If your family of four, let's say, looking to move to a two-bedroom condo, you're easily paying $3,000 and more, utilities not included. So that leaves you into the decision of whether it's better for me to move out of that rental, let's say in next 4 to 6 months and find a place to buy, or I still stay there. So I feel the very first thing that plays a really important role in that decision is your finances, right? If you're someone who comes from a background of strong finances and you have some money saved down for down payment and you're coming from a country where you had that money and you were bringing it in, which happens with a lot of newcomers. I recently helped two newcomers who were here for about 2 years. They rented and now they're ready to make that move. Also had that chunky down payment saved up in order to be able to make that next step. It depends. Some people, for example, when we moved here, that was about 20 years ago. I know housing was a lot cheaper back then, but when we moved here, we were going to buy a place, even though my dad at that time didn't have a lot of credit history built up, which you need in order to operate in Canada. That's something, everything runs on credit. We know that. So in that case, some people are comfortable putting, let's say, 20% or more down payment. And in that case, you might have a little bit more flexibility in terms of getting that mortgage. So I've noticed that people who come in with stronger financial backgrounds have a little bit upper hand, I would say, a little bit ease in going from rental to buying a home. Now, I've also noticed in the past couple of years what is happening that a lot of people who were working with reputable companies, globally recognized companies in their own hometown. So let's say they were working with those companies for a year, 2 year, and then they decided to move to Canada, and then they were able to find a position within those companies in Canada. Also were able to easily get into the housing market because now you're showing to the bank who you're getting the mortgage with that you have a stable job, you're working with a company that's recognizable, and there's ways to work around it. So I find those are also newcomers who find it a little bit easy to get into that. So that's the financial work side of things. Another aspect that I've noticed in newcomers who are more inclined in buying a home and settling in Canada are someone who are more risk tolerant. So they know that there is something that can happen in terms of, hey, I might not like this place, I might not like the culture, but hey, I made the move. Let's just get immersed in it and like understand what really happens. And I've seen they're more risk tolerant on that end. And they're willing to put things up front and get into the culture and understand it. So there's that factor that plays into an account as well, which is risk tolerance.
Okay, so this is a very important factor because at the very beginning you talked about the financial aspect of it. So yeah, if you have the funds, then it should be easier for you to, buy a house or an apartment or whatnot. But again, the cultural sensitivity and being open to different cultures, not staying in your ethnic silo, in your own made ghetto or diaspora. How important, like on a scale from 0 to 10, where 0 doesn't matter at all, 10, it's 100%, would you put this factor? Like, if I'm open to, integrate with the cultural mosaic here in Canada, if I'm able to be open to different cultures, if I'm not, deeply rooted and hardwired to bigotry, how much would this help me?
I think from scale to 1 to 10, let's say, it's very, very important. And I think it can play a very important role in really immersing yourself in the culture. I feel, and also my parents were also part of that as well. When we moved here, they still wanted some part of their own culture to stay with them, and they weren't open to other cultures. And I think that affected a lot of our experience in Canada overall. I mean, after 20 years now, we're fully immersed. We have no other option. We're here to stay. But in the beginning, it was very, very difficult, right? Like our parents were like, oh, we might go back. We don't know. So then you're stuck in the middle and you're not there because you're not really in your home country and in that culture either. So people over there don't recognize you as that part of culture either anymore. And now you're here and you're refusing to be part of this new culture, which you own yourself decided to come here, but you refuse to be part of it. Then it really holds you back to fully enjoy the benefits of what this country has to offer to you, which I think a lot of people miss out on because they're kind of stuck in the middle, in my personal belief.
So you're always stuck between the hammer and the anvil, between your mother culture and the new multicultural environment. Actually, it's not a one culture. It's, in the case of Canada, it's a multicultural environment. So
Yeah.
would you say that if I want to just stay immersed in my own home culture, this would limit my choice of neighborhoods, right?
100%. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it would.
And like in terms of prices, like do like a one culture, a monoculture neighborhood tend to be more expensive or harder to live in than a multicultural neighborhood?
To be honest, first of all, I never understood the point. If you really want to just be immersed with your own culture, then why move, right? If you love it so much, you like everything about it, then why make that move? So if you're making that move, then why don't you give a chance of really getting to know people from other cultures? And yes, it definitely affects. Like I don't know about other people, but I'll give you my example because that's something I lived and experienced myself. When we moved here, we ended up being in the city of Mississauga. And that's because majority of our people that we knew, I'm from Pakistan, lived in Mississauga, right? And there was this only one option, like, hey, if you're looking for a home, this is where we're looking for a home because there's no other place but this. And I think that limited our options and amazing places that we missed out on. I mean, we didn't check out Milton for, let's say. It's a beautiful place, so much nature around it. Back then, it was even more options there. We had Oakville, we had places like Burlington, like so many other options that I don't know if we would have able to find a home there or not, but we didn't even check or we didn't even look because we were so afraid to get out of our comfort zone that we're like, no, the only place we have is Mississauga. We're living here. We don't care what the culture is like over here, or we don't care what the society overall is building up as over here in city of Mississauga. Let's just stay here because we were so attached to our comfort zone and we were afraid. And we humans do that. We don't like to come out of our comfort zone. But then the question always came, and I asked my parents that too, like, why move then? To stay with your own people. So I guess that's the biggest mistake a newcomer makes. I think it limits you, it limits your growth, it limits your ability to take advantage of all the things that are available to you as a newcomer to a different country, to really enjoy those things, to explore new places. I mean, I was going to a high school where I would say 90% of the people were brown, right? And I was really upset about that because I'm like, okay, I thought I would come to Canada and I'll experience different cultures, but my parents wanted to just stick there and wanted to stay there. And now they regret that decision. They wish that they moved somewhere else where there was more cultures and we got to experience that more.
And
So yeah.
again, like, because you wore different hats over, different times. So
Mhm.
working with new immigrants, and again, you're a real estate agent, and
Yeah.
you were a new immigrant, like you were a new immigrant. Actually, you're no longer a new immigrant, but
Yeah.
were a new immigrant someday.
Mhm.
Um, Again, like I think a very important factor to grant someone approval for buying a new house or whatever is work again.
Mhm.
Like being immersed in one culture, how much does this help you find a new job, which is an important requirement for having like building your credit history,
Mhm.
giving sort of some kind of guarantee to the lender that I'm able to do my payments in time. How much would this limit you if you just stay immersed in one neighborhood, one culture only?
I mean, it doesn't, no benefits came with it. I mean, the only thing was that we were close proximity to our family and family friends who can just come over the weekends and have dinners with us and then go bye-bye and you would never see them again, there was no benefit except the fact that, oh, I see some familiar faces. I see similar skin when I go out and I'm not so terrified, right? Because, hey, I'm scared to talk to other people from the culture as if they're going to bite you. They don't. So I didn't see any benefit in it. My parents didn't see any benefit in it. If anything, it limited our beliefs, it limited our mental growth, it limited on the fact that it really affected. So I'll tell you, like when we moved and we were looking for a home, there was a lot of family pressure, and a lot of like, oh, we're moving just down the street, so you better just buy a home here. Even though that neighborhood did not fit in our lifestyle at all. And the home that we were looking for did not fit what we wanted. So we ended up just buying because we had our one family friend like 10 minutes away. Our other family was there like literally 5 minutes away. And that was the only benefit. But every single day we regretted being in that home. And that's why when I'm dealing with my clients, I always tell them, like, hey, you need to think about your day-to-day lifestyle. Like, what do you want in your life? That's very important. And with the factor with this whole thing of staying within your culture and staying in the place where everyone is from your culture living in, it limits your ability to experience life to the fullest as well, because now you're living the life that they want you to live. You're
And how
not
about
living.
again the job and the income? Would that help you find a good job with a good income as well?
Not at all. I didn't see any link at all. Nobody really helped us with anything. I wasn't able to go out and find better jobs because now I'm living in a city where most of the people are from my country. Not at all. That didn't help.
So speaking about people from the same culture surrounding you and so on, and what is the influence of this community when you're again fully immersed, totally surrounded in your comfort zone? Uh,
Mhm.
if the term may apply, like surrounded by people with the same cultural background and whatnot, what kind of effect do they have on you when choosing to move out or choose to buy a house or like an apartment? What effect do they have on you?
I think they can really cloud your thinking. So you stop thinking about what's best for me and my family, and you start thinking what's best for our community, which in turn doesn't really, it's not giving you anything good. You're not getting any benefit out of it. So your ability to think clear becomes very clouded. And now you're making decisions based on influence by other people. So I think the big thing that it does is that you're no longer able to think clearly what is best for you and your family at that point. That's a big thing that influence you and not in a good way.
And can you just give us a glimpse, like can we just take a glimpse here at the market, like the real estate market in general?
Hmm. Yeah, sure. So I mean, the market will always go up and down. So those things will always be there. I would always say don't get too caught up in, oh, the prices are going down, prices are going up, or interest rates will happen. Those things will always come and go. You can never time the market. Whenever you're ready, you're ready. But few things I would like to talk about when people are out there and starting to think about buying a home is that first you need to understand the difference between what a resale home is and a pre-construction is, right? Those are the two things you have to decide. Of course, pre-construction, you're getting a brand new home, but there's a lot of other fees that you have to pay along the way. And you're buying a home off of the floor plan. So that's something you have to distinguish between what is best for you and your financial situation. Number two, I would say, is to really understand what your money can buy you. So explore, look at the options. I mean, if you're looking at the condo side, you have condo apartments, condo townhouses, but then there's maintenance fee that you have to pay on a monthly basis. On the freehold side, you have townhouses, semi-detached, again, depending on your finances. So first explore and see what your money can buy you. And then you have to consider areas where those homes are located in your budget and really explore and expand, not just stick to one place as we were talking about. Another thing I would say is to consider whether you want to buy a new home versus old home. There's pros and cons to both situations, of course. Newer home, less maintenance in the near future. Older homes, more maintenance, but then older homes will give you a lot more square footage. So some of the things to think about. Then we come across pricing, which a lot of people will find as a newcomer or not. You will see homes that are listed way below the market value, and then you'll see homes that are listed at market value. So how do you determine that? That's where the role of a real estate agent comes in. Though that kind of information, they're the only ones who can provide you, look at what homes are selling for around the area. And then also keep an eye on some of the data, which means how long is it taking in certain areas to sell homes. That can also help you also understand if the homes are selling for way above the asking price or under the market value. So those are some of the things that, again, your real estate agent can help you, and you need to keep an eye on to see what is going on in those particular pockets. So just because whatever is going on as a whole in the city of Mississauga, within city of Mississauga, there are different pockets, and markets can be very different in those different pockets.
So it's very important to understand the market before taking the decision of buying a house.
100%, yes.
Yeah. So you just don't just go there. You don't take a leap in the dark.
No, no, I wouldn't do that. I mean, think about it. You're getting a lot, it's a big chunk of your money. Even if you're not putting upfront a lot and down payment, you're still getting a big mortgage from a bank. And it can be 30 years, 25 years that you got to pay that back. So I would be really careful, understand the market first, and then start looking. And of course, another big one will be to make sure that you're pre-approved before you start looking.
Course. So it should, even if you're taking a risk, it should be a calculated one.
Of
And
course.
you
Yeah.
should depend on somebody who knows that.
Yeah.
Now, there's a specific pattern that a lot of new immigrants, when they start looking for a house or an apartment to buy, they would look for a real estate agent again from their comfort zone. So from the same cultural background.
Yeah.
And there are some real estate agents who would usually just go with the flow, whatever the agent, like whatever my client wants, I'll do it,
Uh,
like even
yeah.
if they take the wrong decision. And
Mm.
how dangerous is it if I would only limit myself to a real estate agent who is from my cultural background, who would just tell me what I want to hear?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of agents who will just put you in the car as soon as you tell them, hey, I'm looking for a home. They'll put you in their car and start driving you around and showing you homes and will push you to buy the very first home that you see. And
Mm.
again, this is funny because it hits right home to me because exact same thing happened to us. We ended up going with an agent who our uncle referred us to, who was a family friend. And we didn't even bother to interview other agents or to see who is going to fit in our criteria of what we are looking for. And a lot of time people do that. They don't even think about interviewing the agent. And we ended up buying a home the very first day, the home that we saw. He's like, this is a perfect home. Let's just buy it. Good to go. Done deal. Sale is done. And they start being really, I would say, they try to get very close to you in terms like, oh, you know me. I'm from your same background. Speak the same language. I have your best interest in heart. Don't worry. Don't worry. But that's the last thing you want. Even though if they say that, you can't believe that. Just because someone is from your same background doesn't mean that they hold best interest in their heart for you. Just know that that's a fact. That being said, the key is for you to ask the questions from the real estate agent. I don't know why people don't do that. Like, at least interview two people, I would say minimum, and then ask them the question what their buying process look like, how is their negotiating style, what areas do they work in, do they know about the neighborhoods that you are thinking about, because if they don't, then how are they able to provide you that information? So you need
Yeah,
to prepare a list of questions to ask them first. Yeah.
absolutely. And another thing that people usually struggle with in life in general, but I'd like to bring it here to, the market, the housing market is needs versus wants. So
Mm-hmm.
how can a proper real estate agent do this proper balance? And what kind of difficulties do newcomers usually have, especially again if they're immersed in one ethnic silo, uh,
Mm-hmm.
making this balance between wants and needs?
Yeah. I mean, a good agent will always ask these questions and dive deeper into these things before they start showing you homes, right? I usually have a questionnaire that I send out to my clients before I even meet them for a buyer consult. And that questionnaire will ask them things like, how many bedrooms you want, how many bathrooms you want, what areas are you considering, what are your must-haves, what are some of the areas you're willing to compromise on. And that what it does before I even meet them, I kind of have an idea, okay, what they're looking for. And next thing what I do is based on that, I show them the areas, but the homes are selling for in those areas and what the type of home they're looking for. Because you can want all you want, but at the end of the day, your budget will determine what you can have, right? So a lot of times newcomers, they get stuck on, oh, I want a bigger home. I want a backyard for my family. I want this and that. The only advice I can give you is that you need to first get your foot in the door. And that might mean that you need to make more compromises in your first home than, let's say, in your second home or your third home. So also you have to think of it from that perspective. So sit down with your family first before you even reach out to an agent, husband, wife, kids, whoever is involved in the process, and make a list of things that you really need. If you have a family of four, then you probably need, let's say, 3 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms home. That's a need. You need those many bedrooms and bathrooms, but there might be some places where you can make adjustments. So make a list of things that are really you need, and then some things that nice to have. And then you can kind of decide where you can make a compromise. Yes.
And how about the psychological factor again? Because if all my neighbors are from the same background and there's the factor of comparing, myself to other people and
Right.
my social status and, I was this and that in my country of origin. So how can I settle for a lesser choice than somebody here from the same background who was of a much lesser status in my home country?
Yeah.
How frequently do you meet these examples?
A lot of times. I mean, many times a lot of people get caught up in like because my, uncle family has a home, a four-bedroom detached home in a very fancy neighborhood, then I need to get that same thing because then I'm also need to be in that same level with them, even though if you don't have the money and the funds in the bank to support that. I always think about it from this perspective. What's your long-term game, right? In the short term, you can go ahead and spend all the money you have just to compete. But what are you really doing is getting yourself into a situation where you can be a house poor. And you don't want that, right? You still want to have some money aside so you can have fun and enjoy the new country you're living in, right? Go on trips, go on different places, experience different restaurants. But if you're just stuck in a home because now you have to compete and now all the money that you're getting in every month you're spending towards your mortgage, then what's the joy in it? So I would always say stop competing, look from the long-term perspective. Maybe you have to stay in a two-bedroom condo for the first 3 to 4 years. Who cares? But you know that you're getting yourself prepared to get to that point where you will be comfortable with your family next 5 years and buy a bigger home. So the sooner you realize that, the better it is that competing with your family members is not going to get you anywhere. But if that's the kind of family you're in, I mean, then you need to rethink your relationships with them too, Like, yeah, exactly.
And Freya, last but never least, actually, how important is it to, again, get out of your ethnic silo and mix with other people to improve your English language? And here we're not talking about just the academic side of the English language, but to be sort of streetwise, to understand the jargon, like how important is that to understand the different Canadian slang? Like how important is that in choosing a proper house or proper market, in shaping your mental perspective?
I would say language is number one above all the things we have discussed today. I think it can be the biggest barrier for you as a newcomer if you don't understand the language. And I'll connect it to home buying first, but let's start with the fact that this is another I would say a drawback of staying within your community all the time with the people. Now you're not practice the language. You're not practicing the language. I have met so many people who've been living here for 15 years, 20 years, and they don't understand a single word of English, or they don't understand the slang word or the jargon of what people use over here. And again, that's limiting you, right? That's putting those limitations of you going out and really getting the benefits. You might see something or hear something in the news, and now you don't understand what that means. So you might not be able to get the benefits. Now, there's new benefit that came out for first-time home buyers where they can do, have a savings account tax-free. Some information that will come out, but you'll miss on it because now you're not learning the language. You can't read, and there's a lot of good things that might be in your favor, and you're missing out on it. When it comes on the housing side of things, there's so much that goes into it, not only just buying a home, but then you have all the legal aspect of things that you need to understand, the contracts that you need to understand and read. Again, if you're thinking that you have an agent who speaks your language and from the same background has your best interest, think again, because I don't think that will happen. You need to protect yourself and you need to understand those things. You cannot just put all the trust in somebody else's hand. So I would say English is number one. As soon any newcomer who comes to Canada, you need to learn the language so you can in the future protect yourself as much as you can take advantage of all the benefits that are out there.
Farial, I really can't thank you enough for the great information you provided our viewers. And, I think it's really imperative for everybody to listen and really process what you've said, because this can really ease their journey. Thank you very much again for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Pleasure was all mine. Thank you very much.
Bye.
And dear viewers, if we were to come to a conclusion here again, coming to a new country, you chose to come to a new country. Let's all remember our very first days in school. We all love our mothers and our mothers love us. But, one day your mother will take you to school and you have to say goodbye. And a lot of us cry on the first day of school, but without letting go, there's no way you can grow up. There's no way. Same thing when you come to your new adoptive country. If you don't let go of the hand of your mother country, there is no way you can ever grow in your new country. So, when you're living at home, it's different than life in school. Same thing. Life in your home country is different than your new adoptive country, which should be actually your new home. So there are a lot of things that are required when you go to school. You need to do a lot of things. There is a lot of discipline and so on, which is very different from your home country or your physical home. So you must get used to it. Without this, you'll always be a child and you'll never be mature. Dear viewers, until we meet again, I hope you have a very pleasant time. Thanks for watching.